Thank you. Hopefully y'all know what a pierogi is being in the Cleveland area, and I'm from Parma, but I didn't wear my white socks today. I was standing up here back in 1991 looking for $250,000 from you folks, shaking in my boots, a little less gray at the time. And I was downsized from AT&T after 10 years. And after the meeting, you all came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and said, it's not going to ever work. And I went on to open 2 stores in a manufacturing facility and got all the national attention through our own PR work, sending press releases out. Clinton had visited us twice, Time Magazine, top 20 Cleveland women business owners, and so on and so forth. And then you invited me back to be a keynote speaker. So listen up this time. Anyway, thanks. Back in '99, the business fell apart. In the end, we were in all the freezer sections in every major grocery store in Northeast Ohio. But we had a faulty piece of automation with a dishonest automation dealer and problems with some bad attorneys. Of course, there's no bad attorneys in the audience today. But I lost everything I owned, my husband and I went back to work 8 to 5 in the real world and have been very miserable ever since. And with some urging of some good friends, I'm now going back into the frozen food business only. All the major grocery stores are very interested. And as Lou Grant said, I guess I got my spunk back. This time we're going to be competing against Mrs. T's, who at the time we gave a real good run for their money here in the Cleveland market. Mrs. T's is a 51-year-old company that grossed $48 million last year, and they're in every state except Alaska. And if you've ever had Mrs. T's, you can probably attest to the fact that they taste like the cardboard box they come in. And ours is homemade. So we're going to be donating 10% to our net profit to battered and abused women and kids nationwide, starting out here in Ohio. I'm seeking $2 million for a building and the automation, which is expensive, and a year's worth of expenses, and I have a full business plan and everything after the meeting if you have questions. I'm just going to show a short video here.
For all the rock and roll, all the Hollywood glitter, all the corporate cash around this inauguration, there are the real folks as well, the people who worked hard to get Bill Clinton to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and 53 of them have special standing. Tonight, one of those gets special attention from NBC's Mike Betcher.
Like most fairy tales, this one begins in Europe, where once upon a time, a little stuffed pasta called a pierogi was invented.
There you go. Enjoy your meal. Take it easy.
And centuries later, in America, Mary Poldrury had a dream. And with the pierogi recipe, she did open a restaurant and became the master of her own affairs. Then one day, a prince, well, a governor, who would be king, actually president, came to her place in Parma, Ohio, and tasted the pierogi. And he liked it. Who ate the most?
Bill.
He liked the pierogies and Mary so much that he summoned her and her fiancé to his coronation. Cinderella had made it to the ball.
They would never believe it. I'm a tomboy at heart, so... Is this incredible or what?
Mary Poldrury is one of the 50 faces of hope, Americans who impressed Clinton during his campaign and who are the guest of the president-elect during the inauguration. What was it about you?
I think it's the average American. Parma is probably the average middle-class America.
With the pink flamingos
The
and the
pink
lawns.
flamingos and the White Sox, right. But I just represent an average person who has an idea and had to go from the ground up to build a company.
She hadn't voted since she was 18, but she voted this time. Mary and a disinterested generation had become interested.
Hello, President Clinton, Vice President Gore. Please continue to help small business become big business. And the environment is priority one. Nothing else will matter if we're not here.
On the inauguration's wall of hope, this face of hope left her message. Mary and the 50 faces of hope were honored by their new president today. But this American fairy tale is unfinished.
I feel like Cinderella, so I'm waiting for everybody to turn back into mice and pumpkins any minute now.
Happily ever after is easier written than accomplished. Mike Betcher, NBC News, Washington.
That's Nightly News for this Monday night, the beginning of inaugural week in Washington. I'm Tom Brokaw. Nightly News will be here all week long. Also the Today program, of course, as we continue our special coverage of this big week for Bill and Hillary Clinton and the...
Now, our next guest took an unusual route to open up a pierogi restaurant in Parma, Ohio. That's outside Cleveland. Mary Poldruhi started Parma Pierogies back in February of '91. She serves 12 different kinds of pierogies. For those of you who don't know, it's a kind of Polish ravioli. Actually, it's common to a lot of Eastern European countries, and it was lucky enough to be visited by President Clinton twice, who obviously enjoyed himself. He named her one of his faces of hope. Mary joins us now to share her story from Cleveland, Ohio. Mary, welcome.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Let's talk about your method of financing the business, since that strikes me as the most unusual part of your story. You had an idea. You didn't have the money to finance it. What did you do?
Well, I didn't have a rich uncle either. I went to the banks, and naturally, banks don't loan money to startups. So they referred me on to some venture capital companies and some very wealthy people in Cleveland, and I was flattered on 3 occasions to get an offer for the $200,000 I needed, which I only had 2,000 of, so I was a little ways off. But they wanted me to sign a contract to give them 80% ownership plus my firstborn child, so I just couldn't do that.
All right, you didn't buy those terms, but you still needed the money. What did you do?
Well, I took ads in the local newspapers and business papers under business opportunities, unique restaurant concept looking for investors. I also started to think, well, maybe professionals like doctors, lawyers, accountants would be the type that have a little extra income. And I started looking in the Parma Yellow Pages. Parma is a very ethnic community. There was thousands of listings. I couldn't afford postage on everybody, so I started thinking, well, pierogies, Eastern European. I started circling all the ethnic-sounding last names with the SKIs at the end and the CZs, and it worked.
All right.
I started attracting investors. Actually, the way it turned out, it took almost a year. I talked to over 600 people to find 80 investors who put up approximately $3,000 each.
I'm going to hold some things up here to the camera. At my end, a bumper sticker. I ate at Parma Pierogies. A postcard. This is the kind of thing, you know, you buy it, a tourist will buy this. I ate at Parma Pierogies. This is pretty creative stuff. Where'd you come up with this?
Oh, we have just a tremendous staff. I'm very lucky having a large family and group of friends. Everybody has a lot of talent and have all contributed significantly to the success.
Yeah. By the way, I don't usually associate pierogies with flamingos. What's the story on the flamingo, which I believe is sitting right next to you, isn't he?
Yeah,
or
Pingo
she?
the flamingo is right here with us today, and he's sort of our version of Ronald McDonald. And the way that came up...
Yeah, go ahead, tell me.
Well, local celebrities started poking fun of the ethnic community. I guess a lot of people in Parma used to have those little tacky plastic pink flamingos on their front lawn. And it got so popular that even Johnny Carson used to refer to Cleveland and Parma, home of the flamingos. So we started to capitalize on that.
Well, it's a great idea, and of course, I went to school out in Ohio, so it never struck me as odd, but I guess, yeah, around the country.
How'd you like the pierogies? I loved them. They were wonderful. Aren't they good? I had the potato pierogies, then I had a blueberry one for dessert, and they were really terrific.